calm down. Get in the gym too if you have to. Learn how to breathe, learn how to recover under stress. Because then this will seem like nothing. Basically, that's all I have to say about that. Slow down, breathe in, take some time to just relax.
I don't know what he was thinking, to be honest with you.
And Sean, I know you're listening. Welcome back to KBO Insight, and tonight we're going to go over the next set of matches in the Challenger Series.
We're going to be taking a look at the rounds between Christian and Doug. Let's take it around 7 and take a look at a couple things. We're going to take a look at both players' overexertion of energy. Wasted movement, excess of extra body movement, wasting their energy, and towards the end of the rounds, it definitely shows in one particular moment where Christian is towards the center and he's moving from barrier to barrier. If you want to take a look at that.
Yeah, so this is one particular situation where they're in the center of the field. There's kind of a duel going on, a little gunfight going on, and they're jockeying for position. Pretty evenly matched in terms of positioning, but there was one particular moment when Christian made a move that he was shifting his position over to the left. But he chose that in that moment that he was going to try to do two things at one time. He tried to stick his gun up at the same time while moving laterally. And if you're going to take a shot like that, you might as well really take that shot as opposed to half-ass the shot while trying to get in. It's a situation where it should be one or the other. My personal opinion is that if he opted out of taking that shot and only focused on the movement, he would have survived that. Then anything could have happened beyond that point, but that cost him the round.
I think that goes back to the fact that they're wasting all this energy, have a brain fart because of possibly this lack of energy, where he's trying to do one thing, he's thinking his body's going one way, his brain's thinking to shoot it another time. It's just not cohesive, and because of that, he made a critical mistake.
I mean, there was a good amount of time before that intense gunfight happened, and think about all the energy that was wasted, and then they finally met in the middle. They're both gassed already. Yeah. They're basically squatting, up and down, a lot of up and down movement, a lot of lateral movement, and you can hear it on the camera. Mm-hmm. They're gassed. And I'm always stressing this, guys. You guys, you're gonna compete. Your cardio's gotta be on point. Your recovery even has gotta be on point. You will get tired from time to time. Even if you have good cardio and you push yourself really hard, you do need to catch your breath back too. So they're not really giving themselves a chance to it's too much physical. They weren't really using the mental power that much because they weren't really going after points. It's almost like they were just kind of like, oh, let's see who can It's
almost like the heat of the moment. They're just going back and forth.
Yeah.
And there's no, the foundation is what you're talking about, getting in shape so that you don't wear out and get tired as quickly. Because everyone knows as soon as you get tired, you start making mistakes. Mm-hmm. Your brain capacity starts to go down and the little things become big things if you're not. I'm trying to.
I guess it's like this, right? If you know you have a big gas tank, then go ahead.
Yeah.
If you gotta be self-aware of what your abilities
or
are.
If you don't got a big gas tank, if you're mentally strong enough, then that can there's got to be that balance between being in shape and having the mental capability to make decisions on the fly, in a split second.
Right. Because if let's say either one of them slowed down, this is the 7th round. By then they should have been able to get a read for each other. He probably knows the intensity is almost equal. Mm-hmm. What if I just take a step back, turn my brain on real quick, and try to play some chess? Because that right there is just checkers.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to hop over. I'm just trying to do this. As opposed to think about it. Okay, let this guy waste his energy. Just like a fight too. Sometimes if you know that this guy.
Wait for that counter punch.
Wait for that moment when you know that the guy's tired. Then you go for the kill. As opposed to both of you guys are just gassing. Or basically Christian had no way of knowing that the other guy was tired. I'm pretty sure he knew he himself was tired. He didn't really listen to his body at that moment. So that's really where his detriment was. I mean, I think it's easier from where we're sitting at to say what we would have done. Obviously we can see more. But if I just try to forget all that, I guess for me, it goes back to what I was saying. I always like to get a read and kind of study the opponent a little bit, just get to know their tendencies. A lot of times you will already know these people. Back when you and I used to play all the time, we knew each other pretty well. So I knew your tendencies. I'm pretty sure you knew my tendencies. Here, maybe there's a big question mark and they don't know. But again, I guess what I would have done if I read my opponent correctly, I would have just done that. Just try to outsmart him, try to outposition as opposed to fight him head on.
And going logically, if I was in Christian's position, I'm up on points, take a step down. You don't need to exert extra energy. Take a step down, relax, hold that position, and at that point, it's just a matter of getting him out to stop him from getting points. And vice versa, if you're Doug, you need to move with purpose, move with precision. Don't just be moving to move. You know, grab those points, put yourself in a good position to set yourself up so you're not just grabbing and getting shot on that grab. Shoot, cover, move, grab. You need to grab objectives if you want to get up on points.
Yep. Chess, not checkers. All right, we're gonna get to the next match, which is a matchup between Q and Hannah. Really interesting match in that I think it applies to a broader picture than just what's going on here in this match. And I think it's the key word here being matchup. A lot of times in competition, you're gonna get matched up against a team, a player who is either more experienced than you, has won more than you, and that can get to your head a little bit. I think what applies to Hannah here is that maybe she already got defeated mentally. Like she told herself, oh, I'm going up against Q. If you place any kind of doubts in your head before a match, that's already a loss. What do you think about it? Like, what did you see play out? Like,
I did notice that Hannah was a little hesitant on some spots, slowed down, was unsure. I think she should have just gone into this full speed. Like we've said before, if you're going to make a mistake, make it 100%. It's when you start to slow down, start to second guess yourself possibly, that you might get caught up.
Right. And sometimes it's a confidence issue. Sometimes it's a lack of confidence. Sometimes it's overconfidence too. Because if you're overconfident, sometimes you tend to kind of, like you said, you don't play 100%. You're kind of like playing to win, playing more defense because you're like, oh, I'd rather not. You go into the mentality of like, I have more to lose, I guess. So you kind of just play it safe. And you think that's what Q did? It seems like it. I think he was just like, oh, I'm not gonna try, because we've seen him play for you. We know what he's capable of. And what I saw here was just more like, almost felt like he was taking it easy, I'm not saying that he was not trying, but he just wasn't.
He's like stuck in second gear.
He wasn't cute.
Not going full speed.
Obviously some of the moves that he did, like, sneaking up on Hannah, she wasn't totally unaware. He grabbed the point while he was aiming at her head, so stuff like that, like,
it shows the level of player he is.
I feel like that part is out of Hannah's control. Whereas like the mentality of it, the mindset of it, that's something that she can work on. Like, it doesn't matter who you're playing, like if we think about it, sometimes, if it's us and we're competing, sometimes I'm mindful of my opponent, but sometimes I actually don't care who's in front of me. I'm gonna play it how it plays out, but I'm also gonna play my game no matter what. So that's kind of like, that's my takeaway from this match. It's just on both sides. Like, I didn't see the A game. I wanted to see more A game for both. All right, so the next round we're gonna get into is Sean versus Joker. So we made a few observations here. For me and Sean, I know you're listening, dial it back a little bit, the nervous energy. If you, kind of just take it down a notch, just breathe through your nose.
Breathing.
Yeah, it's very important, You're doing a lot of mouth breathing. You're tiring yourself out. You're not recovering. You're basically just expelling everything. Slow down, breathe in, take some time to just relax, and then everything else will follow. Like your movements, your thoughts, everything. We see a lot of going back to what I was saying before about like anytime I see somebody with shaky hands, I'm like, that's got to be coming from something. Whether it's a nervous energy, lack of confidence, or just maybe just poor recoil management at times. Technique even. So my advice, Sean, is to, just slow down a little bit. Don't let all of it out at once. Kind of just calm down. Get in the gym too if you have to. Learn how to breathe, learn how to recover under stress. Because then this will seem like nothing. Basically, that's all I have to say about that.
And the main thing that I noticed that was pretty obvious to anyone who was watching this footage is just the nonchalant kind of action of Joker throughout the entire match and progressively getting worse. I'm not sure if he was having a bad day, if he thought, it was going to be an easier day to play, or I don't know what he was thinking, to be honest with you. Grabbing the first kind of objectives very slowly. Meanwhile, Sean is, busting his butt, moving with purpose, even though a little bit erratic.
Sure.
He had that correct energy, that kind of mindset almost that was lacking in Joker.
More of a positive attitude versus an attitude that was getting progressively more negative as the rounds went on. Yeah. And both you and I, having been coaches, that's one of the worst things I can't stand seeing out of my guys is when the body language is off, because that's a signal to the team that you've already given up. You've already lost. That rubs off onto other players. I mean, this is a one-on-one situation, but like in a team setting, that's even more infectious. Yeah. So,
and you could tell Sean was feeding off of that. He started talking a little bit more. Yeah. It upped his game when Joker started to get down on himself, and it became extremely apparent in round 7. You saw he got out, shook his head, put his head down, said no, and at that point it was over. It didn't matter what he did from that point on. He was in his head already. He wasn't going to get out of it.
Yeah, and it was tapped out.
Yeah.
Basically.
So we're going to take a look at the last of the Challenger Series. This one's going to be between Roman and Zander, two very equally matched players. Both seasoned, both have experience playing public, playing tournaments, playing competition. And my take on this is going to be that Zander is extremely comfortable with his pistol. You can tell he's not shaky. He's not all over the place. He's confident. All his shots are lined up. He doesn't have to be all over the place. His movements are crisp, clean. And so are Roman's on the other flip side of it. But my personal touch, of course, me coming with a completely pistol background, is this is a true pistols only player. That jump shot, one ball was beautiful. That's my type of play. That's the thing that I love to see. And, nowadays I feel like a lot of players kind of are leaning more towards the HPA side with the new technology coming out. They feel like, they have more firepower. They feel more confident possibly. If you gave a player nowadays a choice between a pistol, regular, let's just say high kappa, and one of these HPA tapped rifles, I think more players would lean towards that HPA tap. When me personally, I pick the pistol any day, and I feel like, having that HPA type of weapon is going to be more of a hindrance, going to slow me down a little bit. The pistol, I'll always view it as the pistol's king in indoor arenas.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with you in the fact that using a pistol is a true test of, real skill. It's not relying on firepower. It's not relying on volume or accuracy by volume. And I come from the same school of thought. I think that when someone devotes himself to the pistol craft, it's the highest level. Shotgun, same thing. But my counter to that is that it shouldn't really, for Roman, from his position, he happened to choose, the HPA paintball style gun, and it should have given him an advantage. We didn't see that same confidence level with the way Roman handled his weapon versus the way Zander was handling his high kappa. So I think while it did help Zander, because that's his specialty, if Roman chose that gun as his specialty, it's not an excuse for him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It's not like saying that if he picked up a pistol, that Roman would have the same success that Zander did with the pistol. If Roman chooses that as his go-to, then he should be equally adept and skilled at that weapon as his opponent is. I'm thinking in I wonder, who do you think is going to make it to the end based on what we've seen so far?
Up to this point, the one that stands out the most to me is probably going to be Zander. His confidence, his control. You didn't see him playing like all the other players. He wasn't erratic. He wasn't shooting all over the place. It seemed like he's been here before. He knows what he's doing. He's confident in his gun. And just overall, it doesn't seem like any of the competition is in his head. Unlike some of the other competitors who might have, play it a little bit differently according to who they're playing with. It seemed like Zander will play this way against anyone and continue to, play with his foot on the gas.
I'm gonna come from a different angle. I saw a few things in Sean that I really liked. It's almost like as he started, kind of started off slow, a little, going back to the whole nervous thing, but like we saw that as we got towards like the later rounds, the confidence went up. And I think like when I see somebody like that, it makes me think like that guy actually has a shot because he's growing as it goes along. I want to say Q, but again, like we haven't really seen the real Q come out. I tend to think that as soon as he meets an opponent where he's gonna put up a fight, that's when we're gonna see the real Q. But I still have a question mark about that right now.
Do you think he'll be able to turn it on just like that?
I mean, just based on what we've seen from him before in the past, like I think I know the type of player he is, the type of mindset he has, very similar to us. I think as soon as that switch turns on, I think he can just turn it on when he wants to. It almost seems like, But right now, if I had to put my money on somebody, I want to say Sean.
Sean probably has one of the highest ceilings. He's got some things to work on, but I think the potential is definitely there. We see that in the footage. We know that, from different fields and, him playing and past experiences that we've had and we've seen of him. So I do think that you're pretty spot on with him having that potential. It's just a matter of whether he's gonna shine in those moments or he's gonna let that nervousness and kind of erratic behavior get
the same thing could be said about Zander, right? I mean, like we saw one good game from him. Can he maintain that, for the next couple matches that are coming up? Guess we'll see. But like I still have some question marks about Zander, but there's just something I saw in Sean where I'm like, something's happening here, and we'll just see where it goes from here. Once again, thanks for being with us for KW Insight. On the next one, we'll be getting into the 10K bracket, so we'll see you next time.